NNPCL is supposed to be a private company. They're not supposed to have the power to dictate the price and all of that. But we do know there's still that subsidy element, which perhaps brings the question of the operation of NNPCL as a private company. And we know that the president has over a year ago pronounced that there'll be no more subsidy. But that's not the reality. We all know that by now. So are we saying that subsidy is out by now? And we also see this suggestion by Dr. Muda Yusuf, a way to perhaps create a buffer, which is another subsidy for the people in the transition. But let's talk about this now with Dumebi. Dumebi Oluwole is Associate Analyst with FDC, Financial Derivatives Company. So, Dumebi, I wonder how you experienced. You were here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Was it the same experience coming here
no,
today?
It was worse today.
Wow.
It was today. The queues are a lot longer. There's a lot more traffic. People are more angry. Driving really rough, trying to, get some fuel. To think we had a conversation.
But I did notice that yesterday and the day before, a lot of the petrol stations, including the NNPC, were not open.
Yes.
But this morning they're open.
Yes, this morning they are, and to be fair, not even all of them are open, but we did see more filling stations open compared to Tuesday. So there are a couple of things that obviously are at play here. Some are speculative because we do expect that when markets are changing like this, that there are certain pointers as to what could be happening on an economic level, and then there are facts. So starting with the facts, we do know that what is happening with the current pricing structure for PMS in Nigeria today is reflective of the cost of Dangote right now.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so right now, we saw that the NNPC did mention that the price at which they are getting petrol now from Dangote refinery has increased from about 898 naira per liter to 977, meaning that their price also to the pumps have also increased. Their retail price would also have to increase in tandem.
Can we connect this to the global side? Because we still have global oil price still around 74, even though, I mean, we do know that the crude is bought in features. So it's a contract. Whatever you want to buy today, you will pay for it and all of that.
And that, to an extent, does make sense as to one of the reasons why prices are higher, because by this time, let's say a month ago, PMS Brent crude was almost $80 per barrel. Yes. So if you locked in that contract, yes. So if you locked it in at that time for about $80 per barrel, or even 79, or even 82, it means that what you will be getting now, your crude now will be more expensive because you locked it in at a higher price at the time. So it's people locking prices now that would obviously benefit from a lower crude oil price compared to about a month or 2 months ago.
I think 2 months or so.
Yes, but basically, looking at the current situation with the one buyer, one seller situation that's currently happening right now with PMS, first of all, we do know that it's a cost-reflective thing that is currently happening. Dangote is pricing the PMS as he's producing, and that's reflective of his cost. And one of the things that we do know is a point that, like you mentioned, the increase in global crude price. Remember, on Tuesday I mentioned that the Naira for crude deal we won't start seeing the benefit of that in terms of, because it just started October 1st. So meaning that there's going to be that time lag between when that would have a positive impact on crude oil, on PMS prices. And more importantly, when you analyze the amount of crude that Dangote is actually going to be receiving from Nigeria, from NNPC, when we look at how much that would give to them, how much they'll be able to produce in terms of PMS per liter, what that gives us is about 6 to 10 million liters per day. And Nigerians consume about 36 million liters of PMS every day. So what that means is that there's a gap.
But let's not forget maybe that I believe that as a refinery, Dangote has already have some feed, some stock feed, because we did hear some time ago that they were importing WTI, which is cheaper, and I believe they said there's a mix, there's a mix in the crude and all of that. So I guess that Dangote would also be looking at other sources for crude, so the country is not stranded.
Yes, and that's exactly where we're headed. So if they are getting other sources for crude, how will they pay for that? That's in dollars. And if they're paying for that in dollars, it means that at the moment, they still have a blended exchange that they're working with that's making their cost of production actually high, because for them to meet that gap I mentioned in terms of consumption, which right now is about 20 million liters, 24 million liters, for them to meet that gap, to satisfy the entire petrol consumption in Nigeria, as of today, it means that they would have to still keep importing to meet that gap. And what that means is that their cost of production is still relatively higher. But primarily, I would say that this is a teething problem with Nigeria's current PMS pricing structure. And there is room for us to make sure that there's some level of stability. And one of the things that I mentioned, and this is where we are now going to the indication of some of the things that are happening right now. Where we are headed right now, number one, it does point to the fact that there has to be an increase in Nigeria's refining capacity. So all our defunct refineries, I know I said this on Tuesday, but repeating it is extremely important because this is where it does lay emphasis on. We cannot solely rely on Dangote because remember, he's doing business, right? And if everyone has to follow that, so
he can decide to export.
Of course he can decide to export. It's his business. We can't dictate what he does with his business. Just like we can't dictate what any manufacturer would do with their products, right? If he decides to change his business model today to say import, he has a right to. But again, remember, because we're in a position where Nigeria needs as much PMS as it can, considering the shocks that we've had and the knock-on effect of higher petrol prices to food prices, to cost of living, he's extremely important, for this particular period.
But I think maybe at the end of the day, because
yes.
I don't know, I'm a Nigerian, so can I please for a minute speak as a Nigerian?
Yes, please.
We're just tired of all the uncertainty.
Yes.
Can we now say that subsidy is gone so that we can actually know for a certain this is the price of petrol?
Yes.
If there's a change in the global space, we can expect a change and not say, oh, government is paying subsidy today, tomorrow government is not paying subsidy. You know what I mean? Can we now truly say there's no more subsidy in this equation? So we are just, I can go and buy, it's expensive, but that's it. And then we can now hold government to account to say, you were supposed to be paying subsidy, you stopped. What is that fund being used for? I mean, I think Nigerians just need to understand some of this.
Yes, and you're very right about it, because in governance there is that part of the government to play, to be transparent on how they are making money, how they are spending money, and the policies that they are putting in place. So you're very right that there's a lot of policy uncertainty, and to one extent that's one of the things that's currently affecting the economy today from an investor standpoint. If investors are uncertain about how your policies are being placed, and they are not even sure of the time frame for when price shocks like this are going to happen, it does have a huge and negative impact on the broader economy. So I do think that conversation needs to be had for all of this to somewhat adjust itself. Yeah,
because even when you look at the capital importation, you see that oil and gas only brought in about 5%.
Yes.
And this is our almighty oil and gas.
Yes.
But a lot of those uncertainty, it's not just frustrating the Nigerians in Nigeria, it's also frustrating investors. And so when we keep crying, we're looking for FX, we want to attract FDIs, and people are looking, are you really serious? Because we cannot predict the trend in your economy, then why should I even do that?
Exactly. You're very right about that. And again, like I would say, this is a huge deficit that is currently happening with the government, and how it relates with all other economic agents, from investors to business owners to consumers. And until that trust deficit is bridged significantly, we'll continue to see this uncertainty being priced as a risk premium for Nigeria. It would also even come up whenever we want to take up new borrowings. So it's a huge problem that the government needs to significantly fix right now.
Yeah, fix right now.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dumebi. Well, we will survive. We're Nigerians. We have thick skin, so
we don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Dumebi.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And so while we're still talking about oil and gas, there's no oil this time. There's also the alternative of gas, cleaner energy. Don't know about cheaper, but LPG, the Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, believe that one solution to some of this petrol price and all that we're looking at is the conversion, or the attention should be given to cleaner and alternative energy. That's captured in this report.